Pakistan cricket at its best. 1 minute down, next minute up.
Thanks very much, everybody, for joining me once again. Saj Sadiq here, bringing you another exclusive interview. Absolutely delighted and honoured to be joined by this guest today. He's a Guyana-born all-rounder, and I think when it comes to elegance, there's none that did it any better during his playing days. 102 Test matches, 227 ODIs, 20 international hundreds, 56 international 50s, 235 international catches, 307 international wickets. A fantastic all-rounder for many years. He's done a bit of commentary work since his playing days. He's done coaching, and he currently lives in Australia. The one and only Carl Hooper. Carl, thanks very much for your time. Absolute pleasure to be joined by you.
Thanks for having me.
Carl, I think first and foremost, your fans all around the world will be wondering what you're doing these days and why aren't you involved in West Indies cricket?
Well, the answer that I've been trying to stay busy. I have been involved with West Indies cricket. I think it was not last year, the year before. I actually went with the team to the qualifiers in Zimbabwe, and then we unfortunately didn't qualify. And then I returned back to the Caribbean, where we had a really good series against India, where we lost the ODIs 2-1, I think it was. And then we won the T20s 3-2. So I have been involved with West Indies cricket. But apart from that, still, as you mentioned, I live in Australia, Adelaide, and I'm involved with my local franchise there, which is the Strikers. I've done them for the last 3 years, so that's good. But, and apart from those, actually coaching, as you just mentioned, I do a bit of commentary. I work with ABC Radio.
Yeah.
I've had the pleasure of, calling a few test matches, a few T20 games, something that I enjoy.
Carl, you were part of some great West Indian teams. I mean, the names that, we can mention the likes of Brian Lara and many, many others, so many big names that you were part of. You must have some wonderful memories of those great days.
Well, yes, actually, just about an hour ago, I had the pleasure of having lunch with Honourable Wes Hall. As you know, he's now in his latter years. But it's always good to catch up, and we were reminiscing, don't forget, after his playing days, he then obviously went into the administrative side of things and then became the president of the West Indies Cricket Board. But with reference to some of the great players that I've played with, you mentioned Lara, but that obviously was a fantastic era. I had the pleasure of playing with a dominant West Indian side in the late 80s, early 90s. Players with the likes of, Viv Richards and Desmond Haynes, Gordon Greenwich, Courtney Walsh, Patrick Patterson, you mentioned Lara. A whole host of really, really, really good players. And it's a shame what we're going through currently, but hoping, I'm still sort of hoping that we can turn things around. But it's been a long time coming, some close to 30 years since we lost the Sir Frank Worrell Trophy to Australia. I think that was back in 1993.
Yeah.
So it's been a while. But hopefully, things will turn up and we can start, crawling our way back to the top.
Carl, just talking about your career and some of the great opponents that you came up against, some of the greatest bowlers in the history of cricket. Who do you think were your toughest opponents?
Well, I suppose the toughest opponents will be the ones which exploit the conditions most in their backyard. So I suppose, you can't look past people like Wasim Akram. Pakistan was always a hard tour. There's the cricket is hard itself, but life off the field can be difficult too. It's not like touring Australia or England. So that makes it a bit more challenging. And you got to remember back in the day when I went to Pakistan, or when we toured Pakistan, you had two local umpires. I'm not saying sometimes you're playing against 13, but it's not like today where you've got two neutral umpires or whatever, and there's a third guy sitting there. So if you're not happy with the decision, you can challenge it. Those days, they made a decision, you've got to go. So I think people like Wasim Akram, not because obviously, as I just mentioned, playing him in Pakistan, he was world class wherever he went. I played against him in the Caribbean. It was just a handful. People like Shane Warne, McGrath, Malitharan in Sri Lanka, handful, some really world class bowlers. So it was a real honor to compete against them, especially where I sort of grew up and learned my trade. I didn't come through from a structured environment. In the Caribbean, if you've ever been here, we grew up playing in the streets and on you go to the field after school and you just you stick the stumps and you just play a game of cricket. It's not as structured as say in England and other places. So it was an honor to me to be able to come from an unstructured environment and get a chance to play against some of the best cricketers in the world.
You mentioned about touring Pakistan, Carl. Despite sort of the tough conditions, the tough opponents, etc., your record in Pakistan was very good. What was your philosophy about playing in Pakistan against a very strong Pakistan team at that time?
Well, I suppose it's got a lot to do with the wickets that you're brought on as a junior, coming through the junior ranks. So if I was born and bred in Guyana, our wickets tend to be on the lower side. This in terms of bunks, okay? So fast bowlers or medium pace bowlers tend to bowl a fuller length, what you don't mind. So your front foot game is nicely honed and short, right? So driving and stuff like that, it's really good. We also get a lot of spin because of the slowness of the wickets. There's a lot of spinners coming out of Guyana. So you get quite adaptive, good footwork, playing the sweep, all that kind of good stuff. The wickets in Pakistan back in those days are quite similar. You don't normally bowl your traditional back of a length. You have to bowl a fuller length. People like Waqar and Wasim, they're traditionally swing bowlers. So I think it favored my style of play. They bowl a fuller length, looking to swing the ball. I am a front foot player, so it suited me fine. And then obviously you get a rich diet of spin. Mushtaq Ahmed. I think my very first tour I ran into a genius called Abdul Qadir. But again, like I said, I grew up facing spin, so I was well at home.
And Carl, there's so many great innings that you played. You can't sort of. We'd be on this interview for hours talking about some of the wonderful innings that you played. But if there was one standout innings, either at domestic level or international level, that is in your mind as your best ever, which would that be?
Well, it would be right in Pakistan. I made 127. I think it was in Lahore. And mate, I tell you what, I can remember Viv Richards confronting the umpire about bottle corks. Okay, the ball, it looked like the dog had it. It was being chewed. Okay, and man, I've never seen a ball swing so late and so fast. And I made 127. God in heaven knows how many times you would come for a drive. You see the pitch up outside or something, you drive, and then it's not there, and then you just listen for the death rattle. It missed everything. It was pace and late swing, and then it also spun. And I don't think it was a high scoring game, but I made 127. I think that given the conditions and the quality of the bowlers and what was happening on that particular day, I think that's my best knock.
You're somebody who, in your Test career, didn't have the greatest of starts, Carl. Your average for the first 20 or so Test matches wasn't that great. Obviously, you improved over the course of time. Do you think there's a lack of patience these days with fans, selectors, in letting talent, enhance and prove itself?
Well, I think somewhat. I mean, we live in a very fast-paced world today where people want everything sort of instant. They want it like yesterday. Unfortunately, um, but I can only speak for our players here in the Caribbean. We have been struggling for a long time. So, we're desperate for results. So, we might back a player in, and if 5 or 6 test matches go and he doesn't give you anything, his head is on the chopping block. I think what we need to realize is that our first-class system is not as strong as it used to be. So really and truly, that player is ill-prepared for cricket at the highest level, especially against some of the stronger teams. So I think we need a little bit of patience there. And not only that, our players that we don't play a lot of first-class cricket in the Caribbean. I think right now the schedule is, I don't know, you probably play 6 a year. So it's not like England where you play, back in the day I'd play, 16 or 17. You play against every county, probably 16 or 17 games. So hence the reason that, our players take a little bit longer to develop, because as a young player coming through, you want to play as much cricket as possible. So whereas you might have a 24 or 25-year-old making his debut for England or Australia, haven't played 50 first-class games. We have a bloke who's 30 and you see he's played only 20.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, you want to play, but that's where you get a chance to iron out your game, put your game together, understand your game, and how you're gonna, execute it at the highest level. So that's been a bit of a challenge, but hopefully, we can put some things in place to change it.
At one time, Pakistan and West Indies were the two strongest nations in Test cricket, Carl, and the battles between Pakistan and West Indies were watched by the whole world as fierce competitive battles. But both teams nowadays are languishing in the Test rankings, and Test cricket almost seems to be like playing second or third fiddle. How tough is it to watch the West Indies team and their struggles in Test cricket as a former great, Carl?
It was very tough. I came down from Adelaide, hopefully to watch, West Indies compete. I'm not going to even say, win the series against Australia, but I want us to compete. But the first Test match, unfortunately, lasted just about 3 days. The wicket wasn't the best, but again, that's no excuse. Both teams had to bat and bowl on it, and wanted a better showing from our boys. It's been tough, but like I said before, when you even look at teams like Pakistan, as you mentioned, they had a fantastic team back in the 80s, some of the players that they had. But then for a long time, there was no cricket even played in Pakistan, so they suffered. And here, us in the Caribbean, like I mentioned, we only play, I think it's about 6 games a year that we play. And you got to remember back in the days when we were dominant, you had a lot of boys on the county circuit in England. Viv was at Somerset, you had Patrick Patterson at Lancashire, you had Courtney Walsh at
Gloucestershire,
Gloucester, and Courtney Ambrose at Northamptonshire. Desmond Haynes was at Middlesex one time. Richard Richardson, I think, played for Yorkshire. I played at stint at Kent. Ian Bishop was at Derbyshire. So you had a chance to play cricket and hone your skills as a professional, That opportunity today is not afforded to us. It's just that a lot of our players are not engaged by counties. I think that would help us. But unfortunately, given the schedule and I suppose another factor that our players probably not being as renowned as some of the players that we had in the past, that opportunity is not provided to us. So it's difficult, but you got to work with what you got.
What do you make of Nicholas Pooran's decision to retire from international cricket at the age of 29, Carl?
Well, I'm disappointed, but I understand. I understand the landscape in which the modern players now operate in. I think the West Indies Cricket Board, or CWI, West Indies, for a long time has been in the dark. about how quickly the game is evolving and which direction it's going in. Back in my time, you had to play for West Indies to make a living. Today, you don't. There are other opportunities out there and fantastic opportunities. Pooran is an established T20 cricketer, franchise cricketer. He's got a huge contract in the IPL and he's sought after around the other franchises around the world. So you want to balance, I suppose you want to balance your cricketing career up, and you still got to find time for family life too. I think he recently got married. I don't know if he's got any kids or a child. I think he probably could have recently had a baby. So he wants to balance that up. At age 29, I think it's a bit young to sort of pulling up stumps on the international career, but I'm not in his shoes. But I never say never. I've seen loads of blokes retire. I've retired and come back.
Yeah.
And at 29, I still hope that somewhere down the line, because he's too good a player, that if he thinks it, he misses playing for the Maroon, and he comes back, because we certainly can do with him.
I guess money talks, Carl, isn't it? You've just mentioned there that the lure of franchise cricket for the modern day cricketer is it's very difficult to turn down, and I guess that's a concern for teams like West Indies, that they're going to lose their best talent to franchise tournaments, and players are going to put that ahead of playing for the country.
Well, yes. I mean, that's one of the things Wes and I were speaking about over lunch today. At the end of the day, the maths doesn't even add up. I mean, I don't know what the central contract for the first cricket West Indies has been, what the amount is being offered today. I wouldn't have thought it's 250k, and that's for the whole year, as opposed to somebody saying, come and play for 6 weeks, and here is 400k. In the case of the IPL, a couple of months, here is 1 point whatever or 2 million. It's just not really close. So the decision is easy. I suppose one can ask about what about you surely you don't want to represent your country. But like I said, things have changed. Professional cricketers today, certainly from the Caribbean, understand that you do not have to play for West Indies in order to make a living. They can play franchise cricket, and you cannot blame them.
Do you ever feel that you played in the wrong era of cricket, Carl? Because I think you would have been a pretty good pick for franchises around the world.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm a purist. I loved it. I just loved it. I just love Test cricket, mate. That's what I think. That's a real test of your skill, especially when the time factor is introduced. I mean, T20 cricket. You got 3 hours or 3 hours and 10 minutes to do whatever. You've got a license to throw, I suppose. But I love the fact in a test match where everything is tested. Your defense as a batter is tested. You want to be consistent with your stroke play. Like I said, you're talking 5 days. That's 15 sessions, 6 hours a day. That's 30 hours of pitting your skills against the best bowlers in the world or the best batsmen in the world, And so Test cricket, I'll remain a loyal fan to Test cricket. But that's not to say that I haven't got a soft spot for T20. I can also admire a player who will walk out and smash 100 off 35 balls, But for me, Test cricket will always be the number one.
Last couple of questions, Carl. I really appreciate your time. Firstly, the gap between the top teams, the haves and the have-nots, is getting huge in international cricket and obviously Test cricket as well. Is that a concern for you that the likes of India, Australia, England are just getting further and further ahead of the other playing nations?
Well, it has been a concern for a long time. That's why it was so refreshing to see South Africa win the last WTC there, the World Test Championship, the final, a couple of weeks ago. I think for Test cricket to remain strong, I mean, you've heard this before, it's very important, not just for West Indies, but all you want to have strong, vibrant Test playing nations. India is strong, England is strong, Australia is strong. New Zealand always would punch above their weight, but apart from that, South Africa, question mark. That's why it's good to see them actually going against the grain and winning it. Bangladesh, question mark. Sri Lanka, question mark. West Indies, question mark. You want to make sure that these other nations have got good competitive sides. I've lived in Australia for quite a while, and I can't remember the last time I've seen a Bangladesh side come out there. A Zimbabwean side come out there, and even when these sides do come, they'll come and play. Sri Lanka comes, they'll come and play 2 test matches. The interest of this between the bigger teams, when they obviously the Ashes, or when India come and play, they'll play 5. So I think it's incumbent on the ICC to try and find a way so that some of these other flagging test nations can begin to produce strong competitive teams so that Test cricket remains healthy.
And finally, Carl, I grew up watching the great West Indies teams, the all-conquering West Indies teams who dominated the world, dominated opponents, and it was fantastic to watch. And I'm probably in the same boat as many millions around the world who are very sad about the state of West Indies cricket, especially in Test cricket. In white ball cricket, they're still fairly competitive, but when are we going to see West Indies, especially in the red ball format, become a force once again, and what needs to change to make West Indies great again?
I'll tell you what I think made us great in the past. Maybe that's where the answer lies. Back when I came through the system, so I'm 66 born, I'm 58, right? So I can speak specifically for Guyana, which is where I'm from. So I'm 66 born. We got our independence in 1966. What I can remember as a kid growing up, 13, 14, 15, when I started to play, there was a strong school program. I can't tell you how many Friday afternoons, my school, Christchurch Secondary, would play against Multilateral or Queen's College or Bishops, organized by the Games Master. So there was a strong and vibrant school program. There was a strong and vibrant club program. And as a result, our Shield cricket, our national side was a strong side, right? And I suppose that was all through the different islands, the same thing was happening. So you had a lot of kids from, tapping into that talent from the early days in school, and then there was a simple system to bring it all the way through to Guyana and then to West Indies. Now that is non-existent today. Whereas some of the others have still got a school program. I know for sure in Guyana, I spent a month and a half there last year. The school program is non-existent. So you're losing, we haven't got a large talent pool, so you're losing some young kids early to, not necessarily to other sports, but to just do other things, maybe just go to the book, study, become, a lawyer or whatever it is, just choose another career path. So that's an issue. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I think the surfaces that we play on were good surfaces. Even a club cricket used to get pretty good wickets to play on. So you really and truly can hone your skills. The bunks, the pace will be consistent. So again, it's just repetitive practice, doing the same thing over and over again on good surfaces. So that was good. Today, the wickets are horrible. So non-existent school programs, I think they're losing out on young talent. The wickets, even at the first class level and test level, they're horrible. The one that we just played on in Barbados, the ball was keeping low on the third day. You expect some inconsistent bunks, but Barbados back in the day when it was renowned for good bunks, good pace and good carry, you expect as the game wears on, maybe 4th, 5th day, the bunks becomes a bit inconsistent, but this ball was keeping low, on numerous times on the third day, guys being castled and it's poor, and it's hard to really break through cricketers in that environment, apart from the other issues with money to put programs in place, facilities and all this other stuff. I think that's the very least. It doesn't cost a lot to run a school's program in the school. You know, so I think therein lies the solution. I think we've got to get back there. We're trying to fix the problem from the top down, as opposed from the bottom up. That's just my thoughts anyway.
Yeah. Well, Carl, it's been absolutely a pleasure and very, very interesting to hear your views, and let's hope that West Indies cricket can get back to the level that it once was. And as I say, many thanks for your time. Really appreciate it, and good luck to West Indies for the rest of the series. And I hope you enjoy the viewing. You're back in the Caribbean to watch that series as well. Many thanks.
Yes, no worries, mate.